It's a beautiful time of year. Love is in the air. You can tell. You see people smiling at each other for no reason. This is the time of year where you look over at somebody and it's sunny out, and so they look back at you and you both smile. It's not like December. December, you look at somebody and they look you in the eyes and you can tell that they're like, what? But this is a very sweet time. You see all these people getting married. We're getting into wedding season and stuff. In New York, it seems, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are getting married. And I've never seen a wedding that had this much sleuthing to it. Like this is genuinely wild. Apparently they're gonna get married at Madison Square Garden, which already implies you have an extensive guest list. That's like the only billionaire wedding I've seen people get excited about, that they like want to know more about. Like Bezos got married around this time that I was here last year, and he was getting married on like a super yacht, and people were like, oh, I hope it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Like details about the wedding kept coming out, and they were like, ooh, it'd be a shame if it, I mean, I'm not gonna do anything, but maybe God will, do what's right. And apparently they're building a castle inside Madison Square Garden. Yeah, apparently they're gonna build a castle for the wedding to be in Madison Square Garden. I've never planned a wedding. But if I went to anybody, they were like, I want a castle, I'd be like, ooh, this might be a touch much. You know what I mean? Because people forget Taylor Swift's like a billionaire because she doesn't give the billionaire vibes. Usually a billionaire is like off-putting to look at. I'm just speaking on the most famous billionaires that we have. Like the billionaires that if I say their name, you know them, you wouldn't just be surprised they were getting married. You would be like, someone lets you touch them? That's the general vibe. Like if I was like, oh, Elon's getting married at Madison Square Garden, you're like, ugh, okay, sure, right? But then also thinking about, like, when you look at Elon, you don't look at someone, I don't know, it's surprising he has children, is what I'll say. That's the nicest way to put what I clearly mean. It is an odd reality to live in where that man has several children by different women. Like, that's also insane. But yeah, there's a level of fame that I imagine must be somewhat difficult. And I know people go like, oh, boo-hoo, they're famous and they're rich. And it's like, sure, but I think that there can be times where you would like to just have a regular moment, and that becomes impossible because you reach a level of fame where you're known all over the world. And with being known all over the world, most people are normal people that'll just be maybe a little bit excited if they see you, or they'll just notice that they saw you, right? Like there are a lot of people who would say, oh, you know what's crazy? I think I saw Taylor Swift leaving this hotel, whatever. And then they move on with their lives. But then with that sort of attention comes an economy of people who are not normal, who are excited to exploit you, or who are trying to engage with you in some way to get some of that attention off of you and onto them, or to just sell the amount of attention that they got from you, right? I don't really have these problems, and I'm not saying that I want them at all, Like I did Jimmy Kimmel's show a while back, and I was there the same night as J-Lo. Same night as J-Lo. And so I was like, oh, I might meet J-Lo. That'd be crazy, And I don't know much of J-Lo's like music or movies, or I've seen some of all of it, Like I'm not like a J-Lo head like that. Like I'm not like, oh, it's happening. I'm more just like, oh, that'd be really cool if we passed by in the hallway and I could be like, hey, I like the one where you were with Matthew McConaughey. That was fire. You know? But the thing about it is, like, you show up, and when I showed up to Kimmel's studio, I was in a car, and there were paparazzi there, and then there were also just fans of the show and of J-Lo, I'm assuming, there with like things for J-Lo to sign and stuff, and people were taking pictures. And I get out of the car, and they definitely thought, I didn't tell them this, but they definitely thought I was gonna be J-Lo. They were positive I was about to be J-Lo. They could just feel it in their bones. This must be J-Lo's car. And so then I open the door and I get out, and to hear a crowd in unison go, "Oh!" It definitely lets you know how famous you actually are. But so many people are getting married this summer. You even saw that couple. You saw that couple climb the Empire State Building. What is it with New York right now? What is in the water? This couple climbed to the top of the Empire State Building. And like the actual top, like the antenna, like where it ends. The most dangerous part to climb is what they climbed. I just want to stress this. So they climbed the Empire State Building and they let this flag loose. And the flag said, when the power of love beats the love of power, the world will know peace. And there were like 5, yeah, sure, yeah, you can. There were like 5 minutes there where people were wondering what this was about, because this is not something that happens every day. You may have a flag on you, you may have a message that you want to get out, but climbing the Empire State Building doesn't occur to most people. Activists or not. Even if you suggested it, they'd be like, maybe like a YouTube banner or something. And so then no one really knew what it was about. Some people thought maybe it was some sort of like protest of the administration. Some people thought it was specifically some sort of ICE protest or something. And then they climb back down, not all the way down, just down to the almost top of the top. They climb to right below the antenna, and then one of the climbers proposed to the other climber. And, you know, she clearly said yes, jumping around, hugging and everything. And I wasn't in New York when it happened, but I can gather from social that everyone saw that and went, ugh. Because it quickly went from a potentially ambiguous political statement to like, oh wait, did y'all climb just for everyone to see your proposal? Like, some of my friends were so mad. Some of my friends were so mad because they plan on proposing this year. I'm not gonna say which friends, but I have a couple friends plan on proposing this year, and they were like, oh! That's not fair! Because you gotta understand, every proposal that seems even slightly accessible becomes a competition with your proposal. So now there are dudes that are like, I gotta outdo the top of the Empire State Building. Because here's the thing, you can go to what they call the top of the Empire State Building. You can do that on a tour. You just go up in the elevator and they'll give you a tour and they'll be like, hey, here's the history of the building. Isn't this so fascinating? And then you can get to the top. It's not the top, but it's like the observation deck, right? And there have been people who have proposed at the observation deck. And so I can only imagine if there was somebody who got up that morning and was like visiting New York City, you know? Like, it's a beautiful summer and everything. Sunny outside. I planned something for us, babe. And then she's all excited. She's like, you planned? Yeah, I planned something for us. And then he doesn't even tell her what it is. He's like, just get in the taxi. Let me whisk you away. And then they get to the Empire State Building. She's like, oh, I've always wanted to go. Oh, this is amazing. I've always wanted to do this. And you know, we're from a state that's flat, so we can't. I can't even imagine how high it is up there. And then they start, taking the pictures, because you can take a picture as soon as you get in there that they give you later. It's almost like a ride. And then they take that elevator up to observation deck. Maybe he even paid extra to go to the top part that they don't tell you about when you go to the top, and just a little extra top, They get that VIP experience, and then they're standing there, and she's like, wow, look, that's Central Park. Look, that's our hotel. It's so low. Look, the sky. Feel like I could touch it. And then he's like, yeah, this is the moment. Because the thing about a proposal that, you want to remember it forever. And maybe those thoughts are going through his head. Like, just when you see how excited she is and how happy he's making her just by having a plan. Just like a single. How happy she is. He's like, yeah, this is it. She's the one. She's absolutely the one for me. I can't believe I got so lucky. And then, he reaches in his pocket. And then he hears a scream. He hears a scream because someone has noticed a couple climbing the antenna. To the top of the tip of the Empire State Building. And he's like, uh-oh, is that a terrorist? Because they were wearing black, they had their faces masked up, that's some terrorism. Okay, well, in case something happens, maybe I should do it now anyway. And then he sees them unfurl that banner, and it says, the power of love beats the love of power, the world will know peace. And he's like, oh, okay, so not terrorism, all right. Wonderful, wonderful. We can remember this moment because we'll be like, hey, remember the time that those two protesters were like, and then we were like, that's us, we love each other more than we love, but we don't have any power. And just as he's about to kneel, he hears another scream because one of the climbers just proposed. He couldn't have thought that they were going to propose when he was going to propose, or else he probably would have been watching them like fall. Come on, it's windy. Yep. I saw the foot slip. Come on, fall. But then that guy kneels down and he sees him propose to her. And he had to be thinking in his head, why couldn't it have just been terrorism? This is... Yeah, my buddy went to propose. He's a little older, and so when he went to get down on that one knee, the hip and the knee clicked at the same time. He was over here. She heard all 6 clicks on the way. And then my man proposed, and she said yes, and knelt down and kissed him, and then was jumping for joy. But now he really locked in. whole rest of the night, he was over here sitting on the bar stool like this, like. I think back to when I moved to Chicago, and when I was in Chicago, I was pretty broke and everything, so I would just go to shows that were as cheap as possible. Like there was this show that was $5 to get in, okay? And the show was like an improv show. It was very fun. It was a really good time. But then we're all sitting, hanging out after the show at the end, and it's a table of us, like 6 people, all strangers, and I didn't know anybody, so I was very happy to try to make some friends and everything, and everyone was just sitting around the table. A couple people were having a drink, and this one woman prompted us. She was like, hey, let's go around the table and tell a story. Everybody will tell a story about your worst ever second date. Because here's the thing, this is what happens, right? You will go on a date, and usually people talk about their bad first dates. Usually it's all like, oh, they showed up and they were, the devil. And so I was like, oh, you weren't the devil in your profile. It feels like you catfished me because you're like a demon, and you didn't say anything about that when we were meeting up or when we were chatting, so. But in this scenario, it was like, what was a date you went on that was good, and then you went on the second date, and that was so bad it made you question reality from the first date. And somehow everyone at the table had a bad second date story. Everyone had a story of like, they were so lovely when we first met, and then the next time I saw them, they were like very rude to the server. They were just like, I couldn't tell if they were in a bad mood or if they were really this person, and they just put on a face for the first time. And then this one woman at the table told us a story so insane that it made me question if I had really lived an interesting life at all. This woman told us a story about first date she went on. They meet up, and he really takes her on the town. He took her to a couple of really nice places in Chicago, like beautiful movie theater, but also the dinner was like this clearly high-priced, like fine dining experience with courses and everything. And he was really interesting to talk to, and they had a lot of the same interests and everything. It was just a wonderful first date. And so he even said to her, he was like, you know what? If I'm being honest with you, after the night that we've had, this is like it for me. Like, I really like you, and I just want you to know that I like you. I don't want you to walk away from this date having any doubt in your mind that I really like you. And she said that was really refreshing to hear because, people can play things close to the chest, or they can worry about getting hurt, and so then they can be coy and everything. Like, he was just saying it. And so a few days later, after some chatting, he asked her on a second date. And this date was gonna be, he had planned it all out, it was gonna be at his house. And it was gonna be at his house like late afternoon, so. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like a 2 a.m. come on over. It was gonna be late afternoon at his house, and she shows up and knocks on the door, and he doesn't answer. One of his friends answers, since the whole party. And it's at that point where she's like, oh, maybe he's invited me to like a barbecue, because she can see like people outside in the backyard, like drinking through the glass and stuff, and like a grill going and everything. And so she walks in, and the guy's like, oh, you must be Polly. And she was like, yeah, I'm Polly. And she's like, where's Steven? That's the guy. And she was like, I was here to meet Steven. He's like, yeah, okay. Well, Steven's around here somewhere, but I'll see if I can go find him for you. And so this is her first time at his place, and so she doesn't even know where to go next. And then this woman walks up to her and gives her a big hug, and it's Steven's mom. It's Steven's mom, and And she says as much. She's like, oh, it's so lovely to meet you. Steven's told me all about you and everything. And she was like, oh, okay. And she said, when she was at the table with us, it was the first time she ever hoped that someone lived with their parents, because then that would at least make meeting the mother so quickly make sense. And she was like, oh, let me introduce you to Donald. And so she quickly met his dad right after. And she sees a little setup. There's a grill in the back, and there's a little setup. And she can't quite tell what it is, but there's like 12 chairs and a couple tables near the grill. And I think she's in such disbelief that she can't put it together right away. But basically, Steven, for their second date, planned a wedding. And you have to understand, we're all sitting around the table sharing like bad second date stories. You know, and and plenty of people are like, yeah, you know, the second time I met them, they were so rude. I was like, is this even the same person? And then she was like, yeah, Because the thing that she opened the story with initially when she was telling us about her worst second date ever was that she got arrested. And so even at this point in the story, I was like, when did you get arrested? Also, as soon as you realized what was happening, why didn't you leave immediately? And she was like, I was so shocked. I didn't know what to do next. And like, he had planned this whole thing, and I was so surprised. And I was like, please don't tell me you stayed in that house to just not be rude. That's... I don't know what we need to do. I don't know as a society what we have to do. Ladies, if someone plans a whole wedding you didn't know about, you're well within your rights to leave that house. This is wild. And then she, you know, she was standing there shocked because not that many people were talking to her, but a couple people were looking, whispering and everything, and she was talking to the parents and stuff. And then finally, the buddy that answered the door comes back, and he's like, hey, Steven's upstairs if you want to go talk to him. And she was like, oh, yeah, I want to go talk to him. She goes up the stairs, knocks on Steven's door, and he's like, come in. And when she opens the door, he's holding a dress. And she's like, what is going on? What is happening right now? And he's like, what? You don't like it? I planned everything. I don't know the point at which you realize you're dealing with someone who is not from this planet. Liking it is not the issue at all. And she was like, we went on one date. And this man said, and it was magical. And before you have any sympathy for Steven, in case you were working on some of that, apparently, she said that, you know, she found this out after. That apparently, this dude had been like telling his family about someone, but not giving them enough detail. He had just been hyping up his family around the idea that he was getting married soon. But then he finally went on a date with Polly, and he was like, yep, this is the one. In case you were worried that he was in any way sane. And so then she was like, I can't do this. Like, this is wild. Why would you Why would you plan a wedding and not tell me? And I don't know you. I also don't know you. Like, because sometimes people who have lost it will then get you arguing from a platform you shouldn't be standing on. And she's like, I don't even know you enough to marry you. He's like, yes, but I think I love you. And she's like, you said think. And she was like, I can't do this. And he was like, come on, you can't leave. I planned this whole thing. Everyone will be so disappointed. And she was like, okay. And then, you know, rejection's hard. Even when you totally should be rejected by every metric of logic. But then he gets mad. He's like, come on now. I thought that we had something special. You know, I told them so much about you. And she turned and she was like, what? He's like, I told them so much about you, you know, like everything that you told me and more. And she was like, what do you mean more? And he was like, yeah, you know, like after our date, it just, everything went so well. I looked you up online. I was telling everybody about, you know, like. And then this is what she told us. She did push him out the window. And so then that. Just imagine that dude laying there in a stretcher, getting carted off by an ambulance, like, so it's a no? Oh. Yeah. Because it's very difficult to know how much a couple's love is like a performance and how much of it is sincere. And it's not for me to know. I'm not in it with them. But just sometimes, I don't know, you'll be scrolling and you'll see a picture of two people and it's like nice. But then you see a carousel of them that they're all hugging, kissing, everything. It's like, nah, y'all fight. Nah, I can tell. I can tell from the way this picture was taken that one, is not the first take, and two, y'all argued why you were making this carousel. There's no way you have it. Yeah. I even had a conversation once with someone. I was taking a bus, and the bus was delayed. And there's a layer of not personal space, but there's just a layer in your mind of like, I'm in my own little bubble when I'm traveling that breaks once there's something to bemoan together. Like, you could go on a long bus ride and not talk to anybody, but if the bus is delayed for 6 hours, eventually you're gonna turn to somebody and be like, this is ridiculous, and then that might spark a conversation. Huh? My bus was delayed for 10 hours, and so we're all talking to each other and everything, and I had this conversation with someone, and it truly blew my mind. They said that they were coming back from a wedding where the bride did like a run. Yeah, like really jilted the groom right there. And like right there during the like actual holding hands, like the most important part, the part where you're like 99% married. You know the part where it's like almost done. And the reason that she did it was the night before at the bachelor party, the groom was, dancing with his friends, and they had rented out this entire like sort of ballroom setup, right? And so he and his friends were making like a big show of the karaoke. So it was like some of them were sitting in the audience, some of them were on stage, but it was like a proper stage. It was like pretty high. And he got really drunk, and then when he was singing and dancing, he tripped and he fell off of the stage onto one of the speakers. And he had knocked out his 4 front teeth. When it comes to teeth, your front are the most important. Your front are the ones that are the main attraction, you know? Like when you see the first 4 teeth, you're like, he has teeth. Like when someone smiles and you see the first 4 teeth, you're like, that no matter the size of the mouth, I can tell teeth are partying in there. And if you're missing the first 4, it throws all others into question. Because here's the thing, 1 missing tooth in the front is an interesting story. 1 missing tooth in the front, it's like, oh, what happened? Like, bar fight? 2 front teeth is clearly an issue. Something happened, but, you know, you get by on personality. 3 missing front teeth is like, ooh, did those just never come in? Because that, once you get to odd numbers, you may want to do something about that. 4 missing front teeth might as well be all your teeth. First 4 teeth cover a lot of surface area of the mouth. And so he knocked out his 4 front teeth. And, you know, it's bad luck to see the bride before the wedding. And so she walked down the aisle and, she looked beautiful, so he wasn't smiling, he was crying. He was over here tearing up. I'm so lucky, And then she gets up there, and she had heard about the accident. They told her that he fell and he had hurt himself, but he was gonna be okay for the wedding. But she was standing there, just over here, standing, waiting to start her new life with her husband. And then the priest asked the first question, do you take? And he said, I do, but the way his teeth came out and the construction of his mouth, it did have a little whistle to it. It did have a, like, I do, and so she ran, she left. Which is devastating. Her friend was saying, she asked her, like, why do you love him, right? And she was like, yeah, but in that moment, I just couldn't imagine, like, raising kids that didn't have their 4 front teeth and, like... And her friend was like, but he had the teeth. The teeth got knocked out. Why do you think because the teeth came out that the new kids just wouldn't have teeth? That's not how teeth work at all. Actually, I should back up. I forgot to tell you the story that I told about my worst ever second date. One thing, I'm not big on, like, policing how other people say things. But if you're gonna say, don't you hate when, make sure that thing is something that commonly happens. I went on a date, and first date was fine. It was good. We were getting to know each other. I think we were both a little nervous and everything. I can be a bit quiet, and, it was dinner, so we mostly chewed. And so we don't even know enough about each other to know if it's, like, working or not. So we went on this second date. And on the second date, she was like, don't you hate it when? And then proceeded to tell me a story that I had never heard before or since. She said, don't you hate it when your dad is, like, leaving for work, and then he backs up the car and hits your dog? and then pulls the car forward, gets out, sees they hit the dog, puts the dog in the trunk, and then comes home with a different dog. Ma'am, excuse me? So much has happened in like 3 sentences. So wait. Your dad hit your dog. And sadly, it seems, killed the dog. Then put the dog in the trunk. And then left and went to work. And then came home with a new dog that he wanted you to believe was the dog. And you saw all this play out, and she was like, yeah, I was like, look, you know, sometimes I'd watch him leave if, you know, I was a little kid, and so I'd miss him when he would go to work, and so I watched him out the window, which is how I knew he hit the dog. And I was like, and you said, don't I hate it when, as if that happened to me too, though. As if I've also had that same experience as you, which I think no one has experienced. Like, plenty of people, look, that does happen. Plenty of people have accidentally backed up on a pet or something like that. But then to come home, did he go to work? Like, could he have even gone to work? Because here's the thing, this stuck with me. As soon as she told me the story, that man, there's no way he went to work. He had to immediately gone to every shelter possible to find the right dog that looked the same, and then spend the work day teaching that dog its name. Because if you tell me that the dog named Sparky, and then he hit Sparky, and then he put Sparky in the trunk, and then he left, and then he went ahead and got a new Sparky to bring home that he hopes you haven't been paying too much close attention to, like, the pattern of the fur or anything. If it looks enough like Sparky, if you bring the dog home and the dog doesn't respond to Sparky anymore, you're gonna be perplexed. You're gonna be like, is he losing his hearing or something? And she answered all my questions. She was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe he did. Maybe he went to a shelter instead of work. And then I never thought about that. I never thought about him training the dog all day to learn its name. I was like, wait, what do you mean? He hasn't told you? What, did you ever tell? And she was like, no, he went to all the trouble, so I just acted like it was the same dog. What? She's like, yeah, I just didn't know. I don't know. I didn't know how to call it out. And he already, like, seemed so nervous when he brought Sparky home. I was like, that's not Sparky. Like, that's not even my dog. But I started taking up for the dog. I'm like, no. He did a switch face off on you. It can become Sparky if you want, but that's not Sparky. You just never brought this up. I'm like, nah, I didn't. I don't know. I just didn't feel like it would do any good. And I was like, you didn't, like, tell anyone? You didn't tell your mom or anything? I'm like, no, I was the only one that saw it. So I figured if he could keep a secret, I could keep a secret. And I was like, that's as sweet as it is horrifying. Like, there is a part of me that's like, okay, but then everyone else in the family is left in the dark where they're like, why is our dog suddenly no longer house trained? Like, because I was like, did the new dog act like the old dog? And she was like, no, not really. He actually bit a lot. I was like, wait, no. So you let your family get eaten up by this new dog who doesn't know why. And to be fair, I guess every dog could be like, why are they calling me this name? But you don't even know where this dog came from. Where did he get it? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't, you know. But don't you hate when that happens? It's awesome to be here with you in Calgary. I appreciate y'all so much. It's really great to be here in Canada to get a break. Because when you live in the U.S., you like live there, and it's like all the time. Like you there like every day. Like unless you travel, you there every day. It's all happening all the time. You have the notification on your phone. It's bad. It's every day you wake up, you're like, oh, again. No, it's rough. It's not the best time. It is not great right now. You know, and I'm impressed by you all because you all keep up with your news and our news. Like you know what's going on here, you know what's going on where we are and stuff, and yeah, I know that you're probably concerned because you read the news and it's close. But trust, we are more concerned because when I was a kid, there's this kid, I was just call him Laquan because rhymes with his name, but I always wanted to be really good at like climbing a tree. Like when I was reading stories growing up, some of my favorite characters were like very outdoorsy and they could climb trees real fast and everything. Maybe that'd be half the story was climbing the tree. And I just didn't have the grip. Out of fear of heights, I would just slide down. I didn't have it like that, but Laquan was fast, was like, you know, up here and just knew like where to put the foot to get the hand, to just had like an awareness of everywhere that his body was, you know, and he was able to get really high. And then one day I was seeing a neighbor. The neighbor was like, "Did you hear about Laquan?" I was like, no, I didn't hear what happened. He was like, "Oh, he fell out of the tree, you know, and basically he got really high, but then a branch snapped, and so he had fallen, and then he bounced a couple times, and then he bounced between branches and just kind of hit you ever played pinball? He basically did that all the way down to where the actual final landing was pretty soft because every branch before that really broke his fall from what would have been a dangerous fall was now more of a plop with several lumps all over his body, right? And hearing that story was like painful because the kid that was telling me about it was there. So he was describing it in great detail. He was like, and then he was like, boom, and then he was like, boom, and then there was one branch he hit. He was like, oh! You know what I mean? Boom, 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 boom. And hearing it was like jarring, you know? I can only imagine what it would have been like to be Laquan falling out of the tree. And that's what it's kind of like to be in the U.S. as you like hear. Boom, boom, ow! Boom, boom, boom. Oh! Boom, boom. Because I try when I go to different places to read a little bit of their news. I have to admit to you that I am not like so internationally minded all the time that I'm reading everybody's news all the time. I'm mostly focused on the news where I'm at. But in preparation, coming to Canada, I've been coming to Canada off and on for the past 2 weeks, and I've been reading news of the places that I've been going to, and let me just say, truly, it has been so sweet. It has been fundamentally adorable to read and watch your news delivered with such earnestness as if these are real emergencies. They're not. I guarantee you they're not. To just... the way... Oh, okay. Even today, you know, I went to Montreal, went to Ottawa, Calgary, and I was in Ottawa, and whew, just watching some local news, reading an article, and it was like a man was pulled over speeding. I mean, where are you off to in such a hurry, buddy? Is the car not enough? Is the vehicle not enough? You have to punch it. Maybe you should have left earlier, all right? Maybe think about that. Think about your own safety, safety of others, you know? Speeding. Now, look at yourself. Got yourself pulled over, now you're late, all right? A man today was pulled over speeding, and when the police pulled him over, it turns out he had drugs in his vehicle. I just think about the parents, you know? I think about... Sure, he was 45, but where did this start? Oh, something must be going on at home, you know? You know, because marijuana is legal. He had drugs. He had narcotics. You see that news and you're like, oh, that's adorable. No. Meanwhile, you'll turn on the news, living in the States, and they'll just be, man in Kentucky found dead, just legs. We don't know where. We have no idea what happened to the top half. It is just legs. We're assuming it's a man. These could be any legs, really. We just sort of said man because of the size of the shoes, but while we're at it, let's just be on the lookout for anyone. If you see any top halves missing a bottom half, please call this hotline. You know, you see it. You see it all around, even here. You know, come here, turn on the news, maybe read some news, and you see people angry, distraught. They're Canadians in Calgary, furious, right? Interviewing them, and they're like, I can't believe that our city, I can't believe that the province would put a sign right here. A sign right here, like a sign right here. I've parked here for years. What are they thinking? This is what happens when you lose connection to the people, all right? Meanwhile, in the U.S., Trump has tried to defund Elmo. I didn't do it. No, it's up for everybody. Bert, Ernie, Cookie Monster, anybody can get it. Nobody's safe. And so you see, when you come here and you get a break, you know, you see people like upset about something, but it's not like an umbrella of an issue. It's just their issue. You know what I mean?
There's just something going on with them personally. That's refreshing. It really is. As small or as big as the personal problem is, it's nice, you know? It's nice to be able to talk to someone and get a sense of what's wrong with them. They're not having a good day. They're not happy, very angry or upset, but you're getting something from them that isn't this thing that it feels like no one can do anything about, you know? You know, like, met a man in Montreal, and we just casually started chatting, and he seemed like something was wrong, and I don't know what led me to do it, but I was just like, how's your day going, you know? And he was like, she left. Meanwhile, in the U.S., if you ask someone how their day is going, depending on who you ask, depending on the state or city, you're gonna get a very different answer. But a lot of the people that I've asked, hey, how's your day going? Maybe I'm just at a store. They're ringing me up. I'm like, how's your day going today? And then they're like, oh, you didn't hear? You didn't hear? He's outlawing reading. It's over. No, it's rough because then, you know, we have Trump wins. I know y'all saw. And then he's talking wild. He's like, Canada's gonna be the 51st state, right? I didn't say it. I do think, though, that one of the reasons, even the dog, even the dog. Dogs don't even have an understanding of like geographical boundaries or borders, and even the dog. That's wow. Did y'all do that on purpose? I know you've been booing every time somebody says 51st state. Did you teach the dogs to also? I think one of the things that did happen with that is that he said it in a way that was so glib and was so dismissive of not just Canada's like autonomy, but also he didn't even try to woo you. And I think it's because it's a hard sell. You know what I mean? You're telling me you don't want to be part of the United States, you don't want to get shot for free? No, in the U.S., let me tell you something. In the U.S., the United States of America, you get shot for free. You only have to pay to take the bullet out. You don't want to have the health care you have now, but not, you don't want to. No, you don't want your 12-year-old to read at a 12-month-old level. Why? You know, I look around, I ask, why? You don't want to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to an insurance company that will act like they don't know you when you call to fulfill your claim. Come on. You know, you don't want to make the only food you can afford food that you kind of don't even question what meat it is after a while. All right. To each their own. You know, because look, it is a tough sell to be the 51st. I don't think that it would really work. One, because of the things that we're used to. You know, just in government alone, you have a parliamentary process. We have Congress, right? You have several parties. You have lots of parties to choose from. I say lots because we have two. So even 3 would be like, wow! You know, like more and more of the U.S. when you travel, it just feels like it just feels like as someone from the States, when I go to other places and I'm learning whether it's their culture, different processes of government or just customs or something, I always come off like I'm not used to anything. Like they took me on a date and I got to the table and I was like, salt and pepper. Because that's what I'm used to. That's the totality of the spice rack of American politics. You get your salt and you get your pepper. Meanwhile, y'all have paprika. You know, I'm not saying it's perfect. You know, you have these like 5 parties, only 3 are probably ever gonna win, but you get these like choices, these different pushes, you know. In the US, oof. We got Republicans, we got Democrats, and we got like Jill Stein.
Like I've been learning about your parties. I really didn't realize how much deeper it went as far as like the seats and the majority, and that no confidence vote is a pretty big thing. That's crazy. That's a no confidence vote. Okay. Look, because I found out about no confidence, and I was blown away. So basically, I know you live here. I'm not telling you what it is. I'm telling you how I found out what it was, right? Okay, so with the no confidence vote, which is basically, if I have it right, it's when you have your like leadership party in power, but everybody is like, they're bad. Like, this is horrible. I don't even know if they know what they're doing. And then you talk to them in interviews and they're like, look, we don't know, but we gonna figure it out. And so then you have no confidence in them. So then, you know, they get pushed to a no confidence vote. They get that no confidence vote. Then, you know, you have to rejig the government. Basically have to be like, all right, y'all are not it. Let's get somebody who is it, right? And that, as like someone from the States, that blows my mind. That you can just not have confidence. That you cannot have confidence in your leadership and you don't have to wait. Because trust me, it's not just this election. There have been plenty of elections throughout my entire life where people voted, somebody won, and the confidence dwindled within about 6 weeks. And then we were like, oh, in 3 years and some change, you're gonna find out how we the people feel. I hope you're ready for that. No, I don't think you can get people who are a part of a system that has like a parliamentary process that has no confidence votes and then give them what we have in the US. I don't know if that would go well to be like, no, I know we voted for him, but that was a different time, and we didn't know that he was out of his mind. We didn't know that he was completely. When he was talking, when he was running, all the brains seemed like they were in the head. And so people were like, I like what he said. I think, yeah. And then he won, and then we realized that the brains were gone. And now we have no confidence, and we should do something about that presently, right? Before there's no food on the shelves. A lack of choice was how I knew I was broke. Yeah, I mean, when I was like out on my own for the first time, I had a choice between these 2 types of cereals I could afford. One was like a little corn pop thing. Whatever it was the only ingredient was high fructose corn syrup. And then there was this other cereal that was like, okay,
I'm positive it was for people. I'm 100% positive it was for people, but it was built like dog food, okay? It just had a very pellety look to it. It had when you poured it, it had the brrr of like pellet. Didn't help it also went in a bowl, right? And that was what I did back and forth because I was broke. And I just had these two choices. I could just go from one to the other. And one got me real like jittery and excited. And I usually crashed by like 2 p.m. And then the other one definitely felt like I should be barking if I'm eating it. Then I got a little bit of money in my pocket. Ooh, I got spoiled for choice. Then I didn't even know what to do. I'd buy some cereal and I'd be like, it's good, but it's not the best. It's fine. Completely forgetting it could have just been these two. You know, that's what it feels like. Look outside looking in, that you have like a whole parliamentary process. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm sure you have your problems. I get that. You don't tell anybody, but I'm positive that you have your own problems. I get it. And I understand people's frustration. I know that there's been strikes in Canada. I know that there are people that are worried about housing. A lot of the same things that people are worried about in other countries. It's not as if I'm projecting some like absolute heaven and haven onto you. I know that it's a country full of people and people have problems. It's just we have more. It's a lot, you know what I mean? It's a lot. And I don't think that it would work, you know, because even with a prime minister versus a president, your prime minister still fits in that legislative branch, you know. There's a lot of things reining your prime minister in, no matter who they are. And a president we're coming to realize by accident is a king. That's a king. We thought we left, and we really did. We were like, we don't want a king. Get out of here, Britain. And Britain was like, give it a couple hundred years. You'll want one of No, because we have this different branch, this executive branch where the president's power resides that is deciding to not really pay attention to or heed our legislative or judicial branch, you know, because it's really the legislative branch that's supposed to decide if we defund Elmo. That's really their purview, but he was like, no, I'm the only one that gets to look like this. You most recently had a decision to make. You most recently had an election. And, you know, I was here before the election, now I'm here after the election, and I was never gonna tell anybody what to do. I did, while I was in Montreal and Ottawa, tell people to just like look across the fence. Just check if you like that. You know, because they always say that the grass is greener, but sometimes your neighbor doesn't have grass. Sometimes it's just a Buick on blocks. And that is tough. You know, because then our news would become your news. Because look, don't be wrong, like I said, I'm fully aware. And I also believe I'm open to the ideas that Canada has problems I'm not even aware of, right? Like there's a chance, I'm imagining, right? If you're in the right place at the right time for this bad thing to happen, if you go out into one of your beautiful parks and you where you're not supposed to be, you playing around, it's possible to get bit by a moose. Right? It's not all roses and bubbles over here. You can really get got over in Canada, right?
you could get bit by a moose if you put yourself in that situation, if you really stay in those neighborhoods, you know what I mean? If you're really trying to live that lifestyle, you know? That's what comes with it. But trust me when I tell you, you're not ready for daily U.S. news. Sure, you could get bit by a moose here, but just the other day, a man used an alligator to rob a liquor store. Which is one of the more effective robberies you can engage in, right? You know, because you walk in to a liquor store, I'm assuming to buy some alcohol, make a night of it, you know? And then there are people in the US that are desperate. You know, desperate because we don't share the same social safety nets, we won't even share some of the same attitudes around a network of community the way that Canadians do as a baseline. I know not everybody agrees, and you have your conservatives, your liberals and everything, but for the most part, there's a genuine understanding that, like, okay, healthcare, we're gonna have that, we're gonna do our best with housing, we're gonna do our best with all these things, right? And in the US, it's mostly like, hey, get it how you live. And sometimes getting it how you live includes robbing a liquor store, going to where you know there will be cash, going there with an alligator that might be a pet. I have no idea. I truly don't know if this is a pet or if this is an alligator that he found, or if this is an alligator that he like going in on it with. He's like, look, if I get the cash, because look, I do like the idea of them being partners. I do like the idea of them getting together and being like, listen, all right, you like raw chicken, you like raw chicken thighs, okay? If I have cash, I can buy that stuff, I can give you some of that, so we'll split it in chicken thighs and cash. Cash to me, chicken thighs to you, just so that we're clear, right? So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna pick you up like a puppy, right? But then I'm gonna grab the back of your tail, I'm gonna swing you around, right? And when I swing you around, I want you to be like, ah! Just really make a show of it, keep the mouth open, let them know what could happen if they don't act right? Because he didn't go in, this man did not walk in holding it like a rifle, like anybody can get it. And hey, don't move, right? No, this man came in, swinging gator at people, right? And people couldn't run out fast enough. Now, it was a mistake to start swinging it in the doorway because you really only want the actual cashier to be intimidated. Now, you've made 8 people think, all right, it's all of us against him, the alligator. You have more adversaries than is necessary. You know, then he tried to get the cash and everything, but it's hard to get the cash because the alligator, he's not really thinking like a robber. Alligator was told to do his thing, so he doing his thing. You know, like that wiggle that they do, going as hard as he can, throwing hip, right? Like, alligators don't have booty, but if they did, he'd be twerking, right? Snapping and everything, which does make it hard to get the cash, right? Because now this cashier trying to put it all in his hand. This dude didn't have a bag. So now he just got to stuff cash in his pocket while holding on to the tail of the alligator. And the alligator, you know, I don't know. I don't speak alligator, but I'm assuming the alligator is like, is this part of it? Because after a while, the alligator is being more difficult than helpful, right? Stuffing. Then he runs out, you know, they call the cops and everything. And look, I can't imagine what it's like to be a cop that gets the call that there's someone robbing a liquor store with an alligator. I'm sure those cops were like, couldn't it just be a gun? No, you're not ready for news like that. You know, because I'm sure, look, there's property crimes, there's violent crimes everywhere in the world. You know, you have your crime,
But it seems like, from what I've been reading about your crime, that it does, and I don't mean this in like an insensitive way, but it does seem like most of your crime kind of like makes sense. Like you get to the bottom of it, and it's like, oh, he wanted what he had, and so he stole it from him, right? The U.S. has a lot of weird crime because a lot of our resources have been shut down, right? So some of the crime is not necessarily just to do the crime, it's just people doing what they think is necessary in their head that happens to be a crime. Like, a good example was, there was a man who called the police because he broke into this restaurant, right? Broke into the restaurant and I think he just wanted food. That's what I'm gathering from like the call. So he just wanted food. He called in to 911 and they were like, 911, what's your emergency, right? And he's telling them off top, look, okay, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. All right, I did break in here, get a little something to eat, make a little snack, all right? But somebody else is in here and y'all need to come quickly. Like, I'm all for a little burglary, but somebody in here being weird, like y'all need to come for real. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, please come arrest me. Because this is my thing as well, is that Canada would only become the 51st state by legislation or by force. It's not gonna happen by legislation, because even if the more conservative counterparts of your government really wanted it, the people have made clear that they don't want it, right? And so then there would be steps taken, there'd be no confidence, there'd be all these things to stop that thing from happening. And the one thing that I don't think people are counting on is, even if there was an attempt to do it by force, people think that Canadians don't fight. But your favorite sport, your favorite sport in the world, you have access to all the sports. You have access to all the sports. I understand it gets very cold here, but the one that you picked was the one where a fight could break out at any time. And not just like break out. Like sometimes there's a reason. Sometimes there's a clear, I don't really follow hockey because mainly I can't see it. I want to follow it so bad. Everybody seems like they're having a good time, but every time I've watched hockey, I've had to pretend that I know what's happening. You know what I mean? It's like being tone deaf watching like a singing show, like a singing competition, like watching X Factor tone deaf, and then you're just waiting for other people to cheer, so you're like, oh, they getting it. No. Yeah. Actually, no, you're right. They bad. No. Anytime I've watched hockey, I've just seen the people's heads move. I've tried to move my head where their head moves, and I tried to look at where I think they're looking at and everything. And then you hear the clicking and the clacking of the sticks and stuff. And sometimes it will click clack extra, so I'm like, oh, the puck must be over there, but it's not. It's not at all. It's actually over here. I don't know what they're doing over there. And then somebody will be rammed into a wall, a clear wall, so you can see. I've never seen only in hockey and adult films have I seen somebody pressed up against glass like this. The way they... Wow. That, I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, ooh, y'all think he gonna come through? No, and then you have the fights. And the fights are very interesting to me. Truly, because it's like, there's a strange energy to the fights. You never really know when they're gonna pop off, and sometimes there's a backstory. Sometimes it's like, oh, look, 3 games ago, you don't just have fights, you have drama with the fights. You have a real soap opera to follow. And then you see them and throw those gloves off. I remember the first time I saw it. They threw the gloves off and I was like, ooh, won't your hands get cold? And then they go swinging each other. And then what I really love is they grab the jersey for leverage. Missing, horribly, missing, nothing but missing. And really try to get close. Come here. Missing. But every once in a while, you get somebody with incredible balance and hand-eye coordination. They throw those gloves off, they grab them. You would think they weren't on skates. They swing it around and slide it, but they're still like, incredible. Anytime, anybody can get it. Incredible stuff. People really believe that Canadians don't fight, but they don't have fight in them. We didn't know you had booze, you know? But I knew because a while back, I saw a news story that took place in Canada, you know, trying to be international. And I saw this news story about a man who was woken up in the night when two burglars broke into his home and, you know, were trying to figure out what they could take. They clearly hadn't done a good job casing his residence. So they're just looking for whatever, right? And then he wakes up, and let me first say this. If someone breaks into my home and is looking for what to steal, I don't know if I'm gonna confront them immediately. I think I might try to come up with a plan. You know, maybe I'll pretend I'm a ghost. They break in, I go to the closet that's closest to a vent. I'm like, ooh, spirits live here, ooh, y'all better stop, ooh, you're gonna have to return it or something, like, ooh, you're gonna be haunted, ooh, you don't wanna be haunted, I don't care how big you are, you can't fight haunted. Everything in here cursed. You don't want those problems. You know? Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe they're not afraid of ghosts. Maybe they don't believe in ghosts. Maybe they know it's me. Plan B. I'm act like a bigger man. They haven't seen me yet. You know? Lean around the corner. Hey! Hey, don't make me put my killing shoes on. Yeah, you lucky I don't have my shoes on right, because if I put my shoes, ooh, everybody dying in here. Because that's plan C. To act like my own dog. You know? Lean into my phone, make a recording, put on the ground, slide after I hit play. That way they think it's behind them. I'm probably gonna cough. Trying to bark makes me cough. And then, last resort, yeah, might have to fight them. No, I have to just run up on them and do what men do. And I have to roll up on them real quick and start biting as hard as I can. Yeah, please believe you're gonna wish it was a dog when I get done, all right? I brushed and I flossed tonight, so get ready. No, but these dudes, they broke into this guy's home and they had ski masks on, and I don't know about you, but if somebody already got the ski mask on, it just makes me feel like they're a professional criminal. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got the ski mask on already, I'm like, uh-oh, this is real crime we're dealing with right now. And this dude doesn't hesitate at all. And all he got on is his shorts, by the way. He just, like, shorts, no shirt, anything, and he starts pushing them up against the wall, and he starts fighting both of them, and really swinging, and they're swinging at him, and he's taking some hits, but he's giving a lot. Just bow, 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 bow. He's like juggling them. Because he'll hit one, and that one will fall, and then he gets to concentrate on this one for a second. Bow, 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 and then this one gets up, he's like, you get some too, bow, right? And then their fight, he puts up a real fight to the point where at first they're ganging up on him. And then they're both like, look, I don't know how nice this apartment is. Maybe nothing in here is worth these lumps we're catching. And so then they try to leave. But he does keep punching them as they're trying to leave. He does just keep whooping ass as they're clearly turned around trying to exit now. He like trying to choke one from behind and kick the other one. And then they run out. They run out of his home. He successfully defended his castle. But then he does also leave. So then he left. I was like, uh-oh. And then you just see in the security camera in his garage, him drag one of them back in. And I was like, Normally, in the US, there's a sentiment around this sort of thing. Like, there's warnings, it's like, you know, there's yard signs, don't come unless you're armed, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's a very frenzied passion, there's a fever dream in the US of legally being able to kill someone that comes into your home. We like it a lot. There are some people that are like, please break in, I want to kill you, right? And that is almost always so that the person who wants to do the killing can use a gun. They want to shoot someone. They want to be able to shoot someone. And this man, this Canadian, he didn't have a gun. He desperately wanted to use these hands. He brought them back into the, I don't even know what crime this is now. Like, this was burglary, and it has turned to kidnapping, I think. I don't know if it can still be self-defense if you dragging him back in. And dragging him by the top of the ski mask, too. So he over here kicking, fighting, going backwards, right? And so then he brings that dude back in, punching, closes the door. This dude tried to get up against the door. He throws it back down and locks the door. And I was like, y'all done accidentally broke into the devil's house. That's crazy. And I think he had one of those things where instead of a key, it was like a combination thing. So as soon as you put in the combination, the lock will start to turn, because that's what's happening. Because now the dude who was the second burglar, he must have been running and realized nobody was behind him. So then he comes back and he trying to get in, and then this dude just keep relocking it, right? So then finally, you know, this dude just manages to get the ski mask off the guy, so now we see his face. Now his face is on the camera and everything. But then, I don't know how well this burglar could fight. It didn't seem like well at all. But he does finally like create like a little butterfly situation with his legs, which destabilizes the homeowner. So that guy falls to the ground. Then he goes for his own takedown on the burglar, but the burglar swings down, sits, and just has him in like a headlock, but not a headlock that's like effective. It looks like a headlock just so he can catch a break. You know, so when you see Trump talk about like a 51st state, I feel like if I worked at the White House, I would just bring an iPad and like, Mr. President, this is what they do.